Hey friends, Pastor David here with this week's Midweek Minute. So we are in the midst of a series of messages talking about the Lord's Prayer, asking Jesus to teach us to pray. When the disciples early asked him about that, he gave them this Lord's Prayer, what we know as the Lord's Prayer, as the pattern for praying. He doesn't say, this is what you should pray in Matthew chapter 6. He says, this is how you should pray. And we've talked so far about a couple of things like prayer is worship. And then this week, we talked about prayer as submission. And that word is maybe not as favorable as we might think it should be. Submission has been used to keep people under somebody's thumb in a lot of different ways. But here, submission means a willingness to say to God, I want your kingdom and your will in my life above everything. That we will allow focus on God to govern everything about our lives, our priorities, our relationships, our social media engagements, how we simply look at the world itself. The prayer that Jesus teaches us is that above me and mine is to be you and yours, God. It is to be what you want. And the basis, of course, for wanting what God wants is that Jesus Christ gave His life for us. We belong to Jesus. And so we should want in our lives, we are invited, I should say, to want in our lives what Jesus wants for our lives. And that is to say it's about you, God. It's about following you. It's about living according to your priorities. And sometimes the challenges that we get ourselves into as people is because we are living with allegiance to some other kingdom than God's kingdom. And so the challenge that I had for us this week was to remember that every one of our lives are like billboards. They point to something. And particularly, they point to who we give our allegiance to, who we've chosen to serve. And I hope that you're thinking about that this week. And that the final image that we talked about was that somebody is learning about following Jesus by watching you and me. What is it that we communicate in our living about who Jesus is and what the priorities of Jesus really are by the way that we live our lives? Would somebody look at you and me and be able to say, Jesus Christ is the one that they worship? Food for thought as we go through this week. So we've talked so far about what prayer is. Prayer is worship, prayer is submission. Now, Jesus begins to teach us some things to pray for when we're praying. This coming week, give us this day our daily bread. We'll unpack that a little bit as we come to this weekend in worship. I hope you can be with us either Saturday night at 6 o'clock or Sunday morning at 10:30 or in our online campus on Sunday morning at 10:30. Until then, I hope you have a great week. Remember, keep looking up, and I'll see you later.